Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about 10 authors I want to read more from. I have also filmed a video where I talk about the top 10 authors I want to read any book from that I haven't started yet. I then also decided that I also should talk about some authors that I have read maybe one or two books or maybe an entire series from but haven't started any of their other works, and because they deserve some attention too. Obviously these are only 10, there's so many authors out there that I want to read more of. So we're going to get right on into this, and we're going to start with author number 1, and that is Elizabeth Acevedo. This is the only one of her books that I read. This is With the Fire on High. This follows a teen mother who just has a passion for cooking, and she's just struggling between school, cooking, having a kid. So sweet, but also touches on some hard topic. I love this book so much. This is the only one I read, and this is her only book so far anyway that is actually a novel and not told in verse. That's kind of the reason why this is the only book I read by her so far. It's because I'm very nervous about reading a book written in verse. I was never a big fan of poetry, and that's why I'm very nervous, but they sound so interesting. She only has 2 other books out, that is The Poet X and Clap When You Land. Both of them sound so interesting. I am slightly more intrigued by Clap When You Land, but they're both told in verse, and that is a very different format for me. I will one day build up the courage and finally read these. I do think that if I do, I will have to get the audiobook because I don't think I would get much enjoyment out of just reading a book in verse. I'd have to hear it, and I know that she narrates them herself, so I'm sure that would enhance the experience and hopefully I'll actually get some enjoyment out of it. Author number 2 that I'm going to talk about is Christina Henry. So this is Lost Boy. This is the only one that I read from her, and this was my second favorite book of 2019. This is like a twisted Peter Pan retelling, and it follows a boy called Jamie, and he is Peter's right hand man and his best friend, and he starts to kind of doubt Peter and his ways. It is so good. Like, it's a bit gory. It's not too bad. It's a really quick read, I will say that. Her writing style is very easy to get through, and it is quite a short book. It's only 310-ish pages, and she has a lot of other kind of creepy fairy tale retellings. So I know she has Alice and Red Queen, and those are part of a series, and those are obviously Alice in Wonderland. Then she has The Mermaid, which, so that is a Little Mermaid retelling, and then I think her newest one was The Girl in Red, which was a Red Riding Hood retelling. So I do want to try them, though I have heard from pretty much everyone that this is her best book, and so that is a bit upsetting, but I've lowered my expectations on the rest of her books, but I do want to at least try them. But yeah, everyone seems to agree that this is the best book that she's written. So author number 3 that I'm going to talk about is Maggie Stiefvater. She is most well known for writing The Raven Cycle, and I have only read The Raven Cycle, and I've also read the first book in the Dreamers trilogy, which is connected to The Raven Cycle. This is the one that she's most well known for, and I do believe it's the one that's most well liked. But she's written a lot of other series. A series called Shiver, and then one called like Lament or something, or at least the first book in it is called Lament, and then a book called The Scorpio Races. She has a lot of books out, and I don't feel like they're talked about a lot. The Raven Boys is obviously talked about, but I did really enjoy this, and I enjoyed the characters, and I enjoyed her writing in this. So I'm like, I should at least attempt to read another book from her, and if I don't like it, well then that's fine. I can just call it quits and just be like, well, I'll just continue reading and loving The Raven Cycle. But I should definitely at least try some of her other books. So The Raven Boys, it follows Blue, who is the daughter of psychics but has no psychic abilities herself, and also follows 4 Raven boys who go to a fancy private school, and they all get mixed up in this huge plot as they try to find a dead Welsh king. Author number 4 is Patrick Ness. The Chaos Walking trilogy is the only one that I've read. So this follows Todd, who is about to become a man in his town. And in his town, everyone can hear each other's thoughts. A virus came and it killed all of the women, and it left the men with the ability to hear each other's thoughts. But one day when Todd is out and about, he comes across a space of complete silence, which is not supposed to be possible. Patrick Ness is an author. He's written in quite a few genres. Like, this is kind of like a sci-fi dystopian kind of a thing. And then he just released, I think it was Burn, which is like an urban fantasy, and then I think the rest of his books are kind of contemporary maybe. I feel like his books are pretty well liked. The one that I definitely want to read the most is A Monster Calls. I'm pretty sure I'll probably cry at that because it's supposed to be really sad. That's definitely the one that I want to read the most, but I'm definitely curious about some of his other books. I've read these about 2 years ago and I haven't picked up anything else from him since, and I need to change that. So author number 5 in here is, I'm not sure, does he really belong in this list because he doesn't have a lot of books. He only has 2 books out and I've read one of them, but I'm very curious for anything else that he brings out, and that is Hank Green. So I have only read the first book in An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. The second one came out this year and it's called A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor, and I'm very excited to read that. So I'm not really sure does it count when it's only 2 books that he has out. I'm counting it because I really enjoyed this book so much, and I'm like already waiting for him to bring out more stuff. So basically this is kind of a sci-fi but kind of contemporary. It follows a young woman called April, and one night she's out late and she comes across this huge statue and she thinks it's just some weird art project that someone's doing, and she calls up a friend and he starts filming as the two of them kind of just start messing around with this huge sculpture. They call it Carl, and then they post the video on YouTube, and then her whole life changes because it turns out that these Carls have been showing up all around the world and nobody knows who they are, who they were made by, or where they came from. And so it's kind of like a first contact with alien kind of situation, and April, because her video was the first one to be put up, she kind of nearly becomes this like expert in the Carls when she really has no idea what's happening. The YouTube part of it I think is written pretty well because Hank Green is a YouTuber. He's been doing it a while, so he knows what he's talking about. And yeah, it's like a really fun book. I don't think it's like the best book I've ever read, but it was his debut. Also, I used to watch the Vlog Brothers all of the time, so that is Hank Green and John Green, which obviously John Green is the author of The Fault in Our Stars, Turtles All the Way Down. The two of them are brothers, if you didn't know. Yeah, I used to love watching their YouTube channel, like all of their YouTube channels. I don't really watch it anymore, but I did still enjoy this. So author number 6, I didn't bring any books over for him, but it is Rick Riordan. I have only read the original Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. I haven't read the Heroes of Olympus, I think the next one is, or the Trials of Apollo, or Kane Chronicles, but I haven't read any of them and I want to, but I am a little nervous reading them now that I'm older because obviously they are middle grade stories, so I'm not sure how I would feel about them. I enjoyed Percy Jackson, but again, I didn't adore that series. Like, it's not like a favorite or anything, but I do kind of just want to read them for the sake of reading them. They're just so well loved in like the booktube community, and just they're so well loved by like children everywhere and like young adults everywhere because they grew up reading them. I'm not too interested in reading like the Kane Chronicles or the Magnus Chase series, but I do want to read like the Heroes of Olympus ones. Those are the ones that I definitely want to read, and then I would kind of see about Trials of Apollo. Not 100% sure whether I would read them or not, but I'm curious. I flew through those. Like, I know they're middle grade, but I just flew through like them. They're so easy and so like fun to read. Even then, like, there was bits of it that actually had me laughing out loud. Okay, some of it I was like cringing at a bit, but a lot of it I still found so entertaining, even though I was not the age group that it was supposed to be for. And I hope that I would feel the same way if I read them again and if I continue the series. So author number 7 that I'm going to talk about is Akemi Dawn Bowman. I read, what's it called? Starfish? So I read that in July and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, I think. It followed a young girl as she kind of tries to navigate her life. She has a very manipulative and narcissistic mother. She has a strained relationship with her brothers, and she's just struggling with school, and you know, all of her friends are leaving and everything, and it's just kind of her trying to figure out what's the next steps for her. And it was a really good story. I did have a couple of problems with it, but in general I really liked it, and I think she has 2 or 3 more books out. I think they're reviews for her other ones are pretty good as well, but I guess I will have to see. So author number 8 on this list is Robin Hobb. So if you haven't been watching any of my videos, or if this is your first video, welcome. I haven't stopped going on about Assassin's Quest, which is the 3rd book in the Farseer trilogy, and it's probably getting annoying to everyone, but I don't care. So I read the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb this year. I read them for Becca and the books Elderling along. I would not have picked them up otherwise, but I was just like, you know what, these are some of my favorite booktubers that are doing it. I'd like to watch them, you know, discuss it live and stuff, and I'm so glad I did because I love the Farseer trilogy so much. But I actually gave the first book 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I gave the second book 4 stars, and I gave the third book 5 stars. But like as a whole, even though I had problems with the first and second one, as a whole it's so perfect. Like even though only one book in it was a 5-star for me, it's a 5-star series. You get me? I want to read all of her books. Obviously that is what Becca and the Books is doing for Elderling Along. Well, she's reading all of the Realm of the Elderlings series, which is about I think 15 or 16 books. It's a lot, but I'm so excited for them. The next ones to be read are The Live Ship Traders, which doesn't follow Fifth and all of the cast that we met in the first book, but it does follow a whole new cast of characters, and I am quite nervous about it, but I'm also very excited. People seem to really be enjoying it. So the books that I have read are the Farseer trilogy, and that follows Fitz, who is brought to the keep when he is 6 by his maternal grandfather, and his maternal grandfather basically just gives him up and says, this is your king in waiting's illegitimate son, and I don't want to have to care for him anymore, so you can have him. And so Fitz's father abdicates his position as king in waiting and leaves to the countryside, leaving Fitz in the keep to be raised by basically the stable master, and he is basically in the perfect position to become a royal assassin because he can get in places that nobility can be, but he can also kind of blend in with the commoners. So that's what happens. I already want to reread that series, but we have to get through the other like 13 books before we can do that. Author number 9, again I didn't bring over any books for this one. So author number 9 is Elizabeth Slim. I have read the Blood of the Stars duology, which is Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk, and I enjoyed both of them. I give them both 4 stars. They follow a young woman called Maya, and she wants to be the best tailor in the world, and when like a messenger shows up and tells her that her father or her brother can participate to become the next imperial tailor, and Maya decides she's going to take that place, and so she dresses up as a boy. I think she's written 2 like the Disney Twisted Tales series, I think, but she hasn't written anything else. I'm very intrigued for when she like brings out some more books, and I do also want to read the Twisted Tales, so yeah, that's really all I have to say. The last author on this list, and I did actually bring over a book for this, is Courtney Summers. So this is the only book I have read by Courtney Summers. This is Sadie. It follows a teen who is on a mission of revenge after her sister was murdered, and then it also follows a podcast which is trying to track down Sadie. I absolutely adored this book. It's one of my favorites of the year, and I do want to read some of her other books. I don't hear any of her other books talked about as much as this one though, so that makes me a little nervous, but because there's actually like so many. Like I didn't realize there were so many. But, and then I know that she has another one coming out soon, and I think it has something to do with cults. I want to read more from her. I am a little nervous about the fact that not as many people talk about any of her other books, but I'm willing to give them a go. That is 10 authors that I want to read more from. Tell me what authors you need to read more from, and if any of them are the same as me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this awkward attempted video. If you did, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!